Okay. So hello everyone. I am Holly Matheson. I am a realtor. Some of you I remember meeting probably a few weeks back when I was here for a training session. So thank you for having me here today to talk about Dotloop. And I'll first preface this with I am no expert, but I will share some of the things that I have learned along the way, partly because my husband is very meticulous about the way the files are done, and we just don't like to go back and repeat things, things that we're constantly doing. We don't want to be repeating steps. So if we can do a template or something to prevent actions from being repeated, we do that. So if I can share something today that will help you guys along the way to make your lives easier or make your agents' lives easier, happy to do that. So please ask questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll be happy to try to get that for you. Hopefully I'll be able to learn something from you guys today. So please share. If you have questions, please stop me. So I'll get started with, what do you hope to get out of this training class today?
Sure. I'm Dreamland. I'm hoping to get out is making sure that I properly complete everything that is required on the green sheet.
Okay, I don't know that we'll go over the green sheet today, but maybe we can touch base at some point on that. Anyone else?
I'm Allison, I'm a realtor. I will have an executive assistant here in a little bit, but basically I have an advanced knowledge of Dotloop, but I want to pick up 2 or 3 extra tidbits that I seem to pick up in every single class that I attend.
Perfect. Anyone else?
I'm Jennifer, and I'm the MCA, and I just want to see kind of how, from an agent's perspective, since you are an agent, and how you guys do it so that we can help train those transaction coordinators who are coming in or assistants who are helping the agents to better, better be able to assist them so that we can kind of help build from within for the agents. So.
I'm Mary, I'm Jennifer's assistant, and I'm just here. I learn something in every class I sit in. And if I can pick up anything that might help me to answer a question if an agent comes to me, that's wonderful.
Okay, very good. Some of the things that I took note of that agents don't tend to know about Dotloop are things like splitting documents, renaming documents. I see agents that will not rename a document. It sounds so trivial, but if you don't rename it, you're constantly clicking on it to see what it is. Well, those clicks take up your time. Do you really want to keep taking up your time clicking on documents? Saving things as templates so that you're not having to repeat those steps. Splitting out documents. Archiving old documents so that you're not filtering through old documents so that you have the most recent and up-to-date documents. Creating task lists, and then also creating folders for contracts and listings. So those are some of the things I'm going to go over. Of course, we'll go over additional items. So if something triggers, a thought, please stop me and say, can you go over this as well? Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm Holly.
Apologize for my lateness.
Oh, you're
Hi,
good.
Holly. I'm Amber.
Hi, Amber. I was just saying that if you have any questions, please stop me. If you have any thoughts you want to, bring about, please let me know. Okay, so one of the things that we do with our team, we have 2 clients in particular that do a lot of business with us. And because they do repeat business with us, I have templates for them because I don't want to constantly go and create the same listing documents or lease documents or buyer documents over and over and over again and keep redoing those steps. So what I have done is in my templates, is everybody familiar with templates? Are you not familiar with templates? And it's okay if you're not. Anyone not familiar? I have created templates. Oh, here we go. I was reading for a second. So I label them, and FHT just means Forest Home Teams, so you can label them whatever you want. But this is my client, Pam Connolly, and this is her lease listing. And I have included all of her paperwork for the lease. I've gone down in our compliance documents to see what all is required for our lease listings. I've pulled every single document that's required, and I've also included a placeholder. Have you guys done placeholders before?
I have not.
You have not, okay. So whenever you're in the template file, you can click on these three little buttons here to the side, and you can do add document placeholder. Has everyone seen your compliance checklist?
I have.
Okay, so you'll have a compliance checklist, and they'll say like a tax record for verifying your landlord as the owner is a required document. So if that's a required document, you'll want to add a document placeholder. Well, what that does is it just reminds you that that's needed for compliance. So when you upload this into the loop, it just reminds you that that's needed eventually before you submit it to Wendy for compliance. Does that make sense?
And are those lighter on the font?
Yes.
Are they lighter?
See how it's a light shaded gray color here? And then my documents are actually a darker gray here. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. And we'll get you copies if you don't have a copy of your compliance checklist.
We're actually updating it and cleaning it up a little bit. I think you were in on the email, and I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But we're going to shorten it. Not the checklist, but all the templates that we currently have in there, to kind of make it a little more simpler. We're going to simplify it.
So what I do is, and when you have that checklist, it'll make a little bit more sense, but I take that checklist and I put everything in order according to that checklist, from the very first thing to the very last thing. And anything that I don't actually have a document for that's in Dotloop, I add a placeholder. So you'll see here, up here on, so the active agents, I'll give them a MLS listing, and this isn't gonna be the same for you because you're Conroe, so it's gonna look a little bit different. But these two items are not in Dotloop because they're not Dotloop documents. They're documents that you have to go and retrieve somewhere. So these are add placeholder documents. That just reminds me when I pull this into my loop that I need to go and retrieve those from somewhere. And then these are my items that are in my actual loop that I need to pull into the loop from Dotloop. So these are all in order in which compliance wants them to be submitted. So it helps with my checklist, right? So it's mentally, I'm going through my list of things that need to be submitted. So once you get all that done, you can go down and you can select the ones that you need to pull. Do any of you have templates set up already? No? Anyone else? No. So you just do. Okay. So let's take a quick second. When you do your templates, so for Pam, for example, I automatically input all of her information. So I input the landlord information, my broker information, standard data, right? I don't put like the address because she has 32 properties. So it's gonna change for every single property. But I do put just things that won't change necessarily. Typically the commission's not going to change. And in this case it does because they're leases and we do a different type of commission rate with her, but typically it doesn't. But anything that's standard, go ahead and put those into your templates, and that way you're not fumbling with it. Then whenever you do have a listing come up or you do have a purchase come up, all you have to do is go through that paperwork and just input the things that are not standard. and you're saving yourself a ton of time.
One thing, I attended a Dotloop class yesterday with Nicole, and one thing that Nicole sort of pointed out to me, and I do understand it, is that if you do these types of templates, that you really have to be on point in knowing when a form, a TAR, or even say an HAR form, actually has a revision, because those revisions automatically feed down to version now and the brokerage version of the templates, that they do not to your personalized templates. You have to really know when forms change and do it on your templates, correct?
Right. Now, what I've noticed with my brokerage is that our compliance checklist were always updated, and so the new checklist would have it on there, and they immediately would send it out our office, so we were informed immediately once something changed, but yes, you would need to go in and update that.
Right.
What I also noticed is that sometimes if a new form was updated, your templates may be updated with the new form, so it would skew, like it would bring the new form to the top, and so it would throw your line items off. It would throw the way that you have your templates in order. So if your templates kind of look out of order and you're like, that's interesting, it'll have the date on there. So it'll have like the new date that the form came into, like these say updated October 14th, 2016. Well, let's say it was May 24th that a new form was updated. So you'd see a new form May 24th,
Okay.
2017.
And on my templates, just because for my visual on how I operate, I have to have everything the smallest possible. So on my templates, I rename every single form to like IABS,
yes,
BRA, Water District. So something like that then would stand out to me because it's not shortened.
Yeah, and you can rename anything that you want. I highly suggest naming it something that you're going to notice, or it's going to be familiar to you, or something to your clients. A lot of these forms, they're going to have standard verbiage like TAR, blah blah blah. Well, your clients don't know what that is, and whenever you send it over to them, they're like, "What is this?" Because they're going by the name that's on Dotloop, So rename it, and that was one of the things that I have on there.
So just to let y'all know, the templates that are in there now, we're gonna clean that up. And there's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's only gonna be 6 templates in there once we clean it up, and they're gonna be called just like these are called on the checklist.
That's great.
So.
And if you have any questions once you get your checklist on how to upload, your templates to mirror that, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you do that. But all of these over here are my checklist and my templates and the way that I have them set up. So there's no right or wrong. It's just trying to be more efficient in what works for you guys. Any questions about that?
So we can even rename placeholders, correct?
You can.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And I'll just,
Holly,
yes,
can I ask something just
sure. Yes.
So what Holly is referring to is, if you look at like at the bottom of Dotloop, it says tasks. And then you've got 2 choices. You can either add a task list or load template. So what Holly's been talking about is
right
load
there.
template. And that's where
Right there,
she
into your
has
left.
simplified the form set and built in some pre-populated, repetitive information to help save her time when sending out documents for signature. So that's one set. Those are the templates. The task list is once you have all of your documents signed and you think you've got everything ready to send to compliance. That's your checklist that, yes, I've got my contract, I've got my bud form, I've got my HOA form, and you can just go down the list and check off what you have, what you don't have, And as Jennifer mentioned, we're in the process of getting those task lists simplified and updated so that instead of, there's just multiple task lists on our office Dotloop. So we're going to simplify those so that they mirror what the compliance checklist asks for. So all you have to do is once you load the task list, for example, that says these are the documents needed for a listing agreement for a lease, then you can just go down the list and check them off and check them off. And when you do that, I don't know if you've ever noticed in Dotloop, the circle and the red circle in the top by your property address name. As you complete things on the task list, that's what fills up that circle. And once you have everything, then your circle's, fully red. It's just a visual that, yeah, I need some more things, or I've got everything I needed. So we hope that that will help simplify things. It's really, it doesn't take very long at all to use that task list. And that way, since y'all deal with multiple files, you don't have to remember, oh, I need a Muslim on this one, or oh, we still need the builder's disclosures back. I mean, it's just a very quick visual when anyone who opens up that loop can see what we're still waiting on.
You see how Holly has it up on the screen right now where they've assigned a task for the referral agreement?
So does anyone use task lists currently? Yeah. So you can create your own task list, or you can use the task lists that are currently out there pre-populated for you based on your brokerage. So so I'm currently in a test loop. This is one of my test loops just that I use for fun. Who does that, right? But if I'm doing training with one of my agents, this is where I go to. Down towards the bottom under people, you'll have a task section, and you can do add task list. Why isn't it doing it? Let me go here. Okay. What's wrong? Do load template. And then scroll down, and I have one that's called Forced Home Team Listing Checklist, which I created. And this was something that I created a while back before we started using this totally separate system. So it's not very detailed, but you can create it any way, to do anything that you really want it to. But scheduling lot boxes, schedule a showing book, change text code writer wording, anything that you really want that fits your agent's needs or your needs. Once you do something, you can check it off. You can schedule a date that it needs to be done by. Does this make sense? Would this help anybody?
I think if you've got a team with multiple agents, this would definitely be good because you've got so many things going on with listings, especially Monica.
We're just looking at each other and
I
going,
can tell.
Yeah, I've actually done mine. I'm a single agent right now, but I've actually done mine in anticipation of an EA. And so I literally have my task lists even broken down into an appraisal task list if I have the buyer, or an appraisal task list if I have the seller.
Yeah.
Because they would be different items that you need to follow up on depending on which side of the table you're on.
Absolutely.
So my buyer, I've got it so detailed. I have 10 appraisal tasks if I have the buyer. And so literally I'm not gonna miss calling to find out if it made appraisal, to make sure that the appraiser has a date and time they're gonna be there. Mine are a little bit more
But if you
detailed.
if you have a team, you can actually, can you show them how to assign it? So if, for instance, not individually, but Monica or Amy or even, is it Millie? Melissa. they can go in and if it's your agent needs to do it, as a reminder to them, you can,
Let me think, because I haven't used this in a little while. How do I sign this?
Go down to no one, click right there. And go down to no one, click,
Thank you.
and there's your people.
there you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Well, actually, I
It's
will
been a
tell
little
you, Dotloop has a work ticket on this right now, because at least on mine, and it may be a browser issue, but on mine, the first time I add a task in and I try to assign it, it only comes up with the admin names.
Oh, okay.
And so I have to click off and click back again, and then it gives me the full list of available people.
Oh, Lord.
So they're working on that right now.
So what's nice about this is it sends you an email as a reminder.
To the agent or to whoever you assign.
Yeah.
See, I think that would be helpful for some of those who's got multiple agents.
And then that person that you assign it to can actually go on their task list each day, correct?
Yes.
And do that. I actually pull mine up and print it out for the day.
Okay.
So whether you have one agent or you have 3 or 4 on a team, if you're using that, it automatically sends those things out to them. So that you're, you've got a little helper there with friendly reminders
Yeah.
and.
So it's under still the templates. Down here is task, well, it was until I opened it, and then task list. You can name a task list and then create. And then you can just keep adding tasks.
We'll keep reminding them.
Yes.
Until it's done.
I want to say it does until you do take some form of action.
And on the tasks there, when you choose tasks at the top, you can actually choose just to look at the ones that are overdue,
Mm-hmm.
the whole bit. So
You
if
just
you need
filter
to.
those?
You filter them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You filter.
Because it'll know what date was assigned to the task, and if it's the next day, then when you come in the morning, pull it up and click on tasks overdue, and then you'll see which ones you need to get to first for the day.
So if you knew you're waiting for an appraiser and your agent was supposed to go out there and meet them and it was a deadline or something, you could, if you check overdue, you can call that agent and say, hey, I'm just calling because we've got to have this,
And you don't have to go into each loop. That's the overdues for every single loop.
It's just so easy.
It is so easy. Just like that.
And
It's in one place.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
See, it's up there at the top.
I
where
already
it's like
see
that
it
little
all,
check
and it's not even
to the
mine.
left of the person.
So she can go try it.
Yeah, it's just the time it takes to create these lists the way
Right.
you want them. So if you guys have a little paper checklist for listings and what each agent does for the listings, is the time of inputting.
That you
Then
guys,
once you're there, once you put that time in, then it's nothing.
there's an executive assistant masterminds Facebook group. If you aren't in that, get in it. It is so awesome, and there are templates already loaded in the files section that have a ton of lists. Get in it. It's good.
Okay, so what you're saying is if we get a notice back that Wendy says we're missing the option receipt on this property, we can go in and create a task, assign it to the agent that had the buyer,
Mm-hmm.
and it will continue to remind them until it clicks with her to get somebody the option receipt.
I don't know why they're not doing the option receipt.
Not
But yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Rex.
Really?
And you too.
So what's the name of the
Never mind.
Facebook group again, so we can find that?
Executive Assistant Masterminds.
And it doesn't have the word Dotloop or KW in it, it
No.
just says Executive Assistant Masterminds. Okay.
And that is a good, I think each, we have a KWMCA page.
Mhm.
And anytime I ever have questions, most of the time it's already answered for me if I look, but you can jot something up there and you get all kinds of responses. It's very good, very helpful.
I know in Facebook there's a Dotloop user community, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And Skylar is the gentleman from Dotloop, and he and several other Dotloop people are on there all the time answering questions and giving workarounds and taking feedback.
I'm on that one, but I forget about it. It gets hidden.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Any questions about that before we move on? I'm sure that we can talk more about that. Let's go into a loop real quick. One thing that I want to mention for compliance purposes, it's super important that your files be in 2 folders, and that's it. It needs to be a listing folder and a contract folder. So if you guys have more than that, it needs to really be compiled into those 2. So,
Or if you only have one.
or if you only have one, they need to be split
Separated.
into 2 folders. Really, it's going to save Wendy time, and that, why would you want to save Wendy time? Well, so that she can have more time to look at your other folders and other documents, and then you get it checked faster. So really, you know, it's helping her, it's helping you, it's
And
helping.
trust me, at the end of the month, when everything comes in, you definitely, as an MCA or assistant MCA or compliance, you know, if you only got 5 minutes left till you have to leave, you know the ones that have, you can go through and pick the
Yeah.
ones that you know have their stuff together.
Yeah. So you'll have your contract folder, you'll have your listing folder. That compliance document that Jennifer's working on is really going to help you in organizing this and making sure that all your documents are there before you submit it to compliance. If you just do a quick glance before you submit it to Wendy, do that, submit it. I mean, we hardly ever have anything returned back. Of course, Wendy is my compliance person personally, but, and I'm blessed because of that, but we hardly ever have anything returned back to us. And that's because we want our check. We want to get paid, you know. So we make sure that everything's done and it's ready to go. So another thing with this being that, anyone know how to split documents? Does anyone not know how to split documents? So, let me ask you this. Do you guys know how to send documents from an email to Dotloop? Good. Okay, so, let me see here. Let me go back to a loop, test loop real quick. Let's see. I keep wanting to type text. Okay, so if you are in a loop and you do add document, you can do templates, browser, email. So if you just click on email and copy to clipboard. Not Jim. This Band-Aid on my finger is not, you really use this finger more than you know. Let's see what I have. I'm just gonna send this to, so you're gonna do whatever your documents you have that came in, you're gonna hit forward, paste in the address that you just copied, and just hit send, and it's like magic.
Did everybody see that?
No, she needs to go over that one again, I'm sorry. I was looking down writing.
So when you're in your loop, you're gonna do add document, click the email, copy to clipboard. When you're in your email, you need to be in the email that they have the attachment in, right? So you're gonna,
Inspection.
right, like the inspection, whatever, you know,
Whatever, yeah.
yeah, contract that you just got. Forward. Paste the email, the loop email,
In the to field.
in the to field, and just hit send. It's like 4 steps. It's so simple.
And I'll do more than one document.
Any documents that are in there.
Okay. And that's using though Gmail, like I'm a Mac user, so it's a little, possibly a little bit different for a Mac user or
No,
not?
she's using a Mac right now.
Oh, you're a Mac? Oh, you are a Mac. Oh, but you went into your Gmail account versus I use my Mac mail.
I don't think it matters.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
See?
So you just basically imported in that email.
You don't have to download it anywhere. It's,
You're cracking me up.
y'all just wanna come over one day?
I would love that. I actually would love that. Please invite me.
We'll have some
I only
more,
charge $500. Just buy me lunch.
we'll have some more workshops.
So then, okay, so that's how you import an email into, your loop, okay?
I just wanted to say one thing on that, it only works on PDF files, which is
Right.
luckily that's mainly all we get.
Yeah.
But if it happens to be a Word doc or an Excel or a
That's right.
JPEG, it won't
Then just
work
reply,
that way,
yeah.
you have to convert it to a PDF.
Then reply to Dave and say, I'm sorry, I can only accept PDFs.
Okay.
So then, you know how you have a ton of documents that you have come in and then you open all documents in your loop, right? So I click on this and I open all my documents, correct? Have you ever done this? Okay.
I just learned it yesterday.
Well, you're in here and you're like, oh, all these names don't mean anything to me on my documents. So I click up here at the top corner and I'm like, okay, well, this is an amendment for changing the date of closing. And then you can scroll down. And you could, sometimes you have 4 or 5 amendments in a contract, right? So you have repair amendment, you have amendment to change the closing date, you have a amendment for the option period. You know, you have all these amendments and you don't know what they all are for, but you don't want to go clicking on every single one. So you can just change the name while you're in here.
That is gonna save me so much time because I've been going in and out of each
Right.
one.
And
Well,
do
now, which
rename.
one is this one? And then rename and.
Mhm. So you can just click on this and change the name without having to do click and rename. So now when I go out of it, everything's automatically changed. Does that make sense?
I have a question on the email, on the email. So does each PDF get pulled in as a separate file, or does it pull them all like a multiple?
It
You have
does
to split?
pull them in multiple, so however many files you have, yeah, it will pull them in separately. So let's say, like for example, for some reason, well, my client the other day sent me a seller's disclosure and they all came in separate pages. So when I send it into the loop, it was all separate. So do you know what to do whenever that happens? How to get them all back into one? You just have to download it. Do you know how to do all of that? So let's say these 2 documents are separate pages and I need them to be one. I click on both of the documents, open, or I'm sorry, download. So they're gonna download them together. Actually, that's a file. So it just added them together in my client's file. So what I can do now is Don't do that. Sorry. And then you can just drag. And now they are one. And then you can go and archive. So because I've added both of them here, I want to click on this and make sure I archive these two. Does that make sense? Any questions so far?
The one thing that I have noticed on, as far as, and sorry, my mind just skipped to this, on splitting documents, like when you pull it into a multiple, don't share it, because once you share that, then you can't split it. Once it's shared with somebody else, you can't split. You have to split first and then share.
That's right, unless you download it after you share it. Okay, so yes.
Right.
If you share something and it has an active signature on it, so meaning that the signature is there, you then have to download it, re-upload it, so that the signature file is permanent. Does that make sense? And then you can go in and split the document. So if the signature is still active, so it has the green signature, you know, it won't let you do anything else to that document. You'll get like an edit message saying you can't do anything with it. So,
You give me an example of, I mean, what would be a situation in which you would do that?
split something.
Right, so somebody sends you something and you need to split it, can you give me an example of?
So, like, it might be something that I don't want to share with the buyer's agent. So, like, if it's a listing document that I don't want to share with the buyer's agent. Oh, Wendy, help me out. Something that I don't want to share.
You know, maybe sometimes you get an executed contract and some of the things are signed by both parties, and maybe the HOA addendum is missing one set of signatures or whatever. I mean, you could split that one document out. That way, once you get the completed form, it just kind of helps clean up the file. Or let's say if you need to have something initialed and you don't want to send the entire PDF, which has got 30 pages of various forms, you can split it out and just split out that one page or split out that one document.
I'm just going blank.
How can you split out one page though?
Um,
Because if you have multiple pages in your document and you go to split it, you're gonna have to split the pages before that individual page and then the pages after. So basically you're gonna wind up having like 3 documents,
yeah,
3 splits.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, you will.
So it's not possible to split one individual page from it.
No,
Okay.
I would.
Well, I mean, you can
Well,
split it and
yeah.
separate it by itself, but you're gonna have before and after that you have to
Yes.
split too.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like when you split, you can split it into 3 documents,
Right.
5 documents, 6 documents.
Right.
You just kind of have to keep track of it in your head. And you can name them when you're splitting it. You can, this is page 1 through 8 of the contract. This is page 9 of the contract. This is the third party addendum.
So,
It's actually very simple, and with just a little practice, it doesn't take very long at all to do. But it does help you clean up your loop and get rid of the documents that are not used or not fully signed, so that not everything is just in one gigantic PDF, of which some documents are relevant and some documents are not.
I'll tell you, this is a good time, this is a good example of splitting, is when you want to upload the documents to the MLS and the file's too large. That's when I just split some yesterday to do that because the file was too big. So I split out the seller's disclosure from the mud and something else because the file was too big. But here's, I just combined all of these and did a one document so I can show you guys how to split. So, let's see here. So I'm gonna open this document. It's titled multiple documents. So you go up to File and Split Document. And you'll see that it automatically defaults to 2, but you can choose as many as you want. I'll select 3 and then it'll let me do more than that if I need to. So you're probably thinking, well, how do I know which document this is? You know, I don't know which documents are in here. But it'll still let you scroll through. So you don't have to know ahead of time which documents and how many pages each one is. So file 1, this is going to be an amendment. So page 1 to 1. So I'm just gonna call this amendment 1. And then this is gonna be, the next one's gonna be amendment 2. And then the last one is a referral agreement. Ooh, dang it. That's one thing about Dotloop that I hate. If you scroll too much to the right, it'll.
We have to split documents all the time when we scan. My agent used to scan each document by itself because she didn't realize you could split, but you can just stick it on the scanner, scan 20-something pages, and then when you pull it in, split it, name it at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And then even in that naming process right there, say amendment number 2 was something that didn't have all of the signatures and you really didn't want it, you could even name archive or put something to tell yourself to archive that one document when you get back into the loop to make it go away and off of your, and then you can, now that I'm thinking about it, then you could even put a placeholder in there for that. Once you get back in the loop, right? Could you put a placeholder
you can't
reminding you to get that document in with the right full signatures? Does that make sense?
Well, you can't do a placeholder. You have to have a document, but you can write anything you want in there. But if it's a document I don't need, I do that. I write archive on it. That way I know once it's back into the folder, I'll just do the archive.
Right.
But it won't let you just put like you have to have a space for a document in order to do a split. So if I only have 3 documents, it won't let me do 4. It won't let me split 4 items, if that makes sense.
I was just wondering that once you do get this split and you go back into the loop under your docs in your folder, you can't put a placeholder for a document that's needed, so that's what it reminds you to get that fully executed version of that document in there somewhere. It's only tasks that you can do placeholders. Is that it?
Yeah, you have to go.
Templates?
Yeah, you have to go to the task to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I have my amendments, and then my archive. So you can just go over here and archive this, since you know that was the one that you needed to get rid of. Yeah. How are we on time? 15 minutes.
We got about 15 minutes.
Okay. Split documents and simple document. Let's see.
Also on the archiving the documents, like earlier you archived 2, and you clicked 1, scrolled, did the drop down there, and you can click all you want to archive and go to the top and just hit archive.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I hadn't done that before. Oh, the other thing, since I use tasks so much, is tasks is always at the bottom as a default, but you can literally move your tasks up to the top by hitting move to top. So that when you go into a loop, you see your tasks up top first. I love that. I discovered that 2 days ago.
I don't like it up at the top.
You don't?
No.
I don't like rolling all the way to the bottom because I have so many docs and so many people, because I put every single person in there, that by the time I get to the bottom, it takes forever to get to tasks.
Yeah.
So I moved mine up top, but it's a personal preference.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
I would also recommend you guys find a way to label your loops that's consistent. I don't know if you have a preferred way to label loops. Ours is definitely the address / and then the last name. That's how we label every single loop. It's consistent. Everyone on our team does it, buyers agents, listing agents. There's no question about it. That's how we
And it
label.
helps us if y'all will make sure if it's a listing for sale, if it's a purchase, if it's under contract, or if it's active, or
Mhm.
all those little things underneath, helps us.
Well, and like you're from Walden, we have so many 12-100 Walden Road, 12-500 Walden, and they release them every 6 to 12 months over and over and over. So I always add, once it gets to me, I add after the address and name, I put the month and year.
Yeah.
Because they,
Yes.
Catherine Mayer,
Yeah.
over and over and over.
And I do that too.
Yeah.
I've started, I'll put in parentheses.
Otherwise, you
June,
go
that's
crazy
okay.
trying to find the right loop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we have 1 million mail bills.
Yes.
So we know. But please make sure if your agents aren't filling that part out, you guys do, that helps us out.
Absolutely. So as soon as you know if literally this one was this morning, but
Even the sales price, the, closing date, all of that stuff helps us, because then when we get the green sheet, if your sales price on here says 200,000 and the green sheet says 190, and there's no amendment in there, we can, hey, is something going on, or.
Sometimes at night, if I'm sitting and playing with this and I get tired of that, I go into Dotloop, and Wendy may have 40 for compliance review because she works the night shift. And then none of those tags are there, and I'm sitting there and I'm tired of looking, just playing solitaire, so I go through and add all those little tags, but it helps if you do it when you set
And
the
I've
mind.
noticed a couple times it's auto-populated and it's been incorrect.
Oh, really?
Like sometimes I don't put in the sales price or whatever, but
Oh,
it
yeah,
puts it
it
in
does.
there, and most of the time it's right, but a couple times it's been wrong.
Mhm.
I'm not sure where it,
I think it's pulling from one of the versions of the contract. And if you change the contract, or it's a different contract, it pulls off of the old, maybe original one, or a secondary one, or something like that. That it pulls off of another version of the
is
contract
that
and
on your
sales price.
listings? If you can label it to your listings, then it's probably pulling from this data right here, this data field.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The view details.
Yeah. I don't put anything in here usually.
I never fill that out.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I never fill that out.
Not really. I mean, this pulls data into your listing paperwork.
But I will tell you, I took Nicole's class yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and she said, use the view details. And the reason is because, and I've been guilty, I've not been using Easy Offer. But if you will utilize, if you have listings and you utilize Easy Offer, putting all of the information in your view details keeps the other agent representing the buyer from making typos. Because when they do the Easy Offer, it pulls your view details from your listing loop into their Easy Offer. So they won't mistype the lot number, mistype the block number. All of that helps create sync with the other agent on the other side. So that's the way she expressed it yesterday.
And that just reminded me of a template we've created. We've created a lease template that's like a sample,
Mm-hmm.
because we do a lot of leases and a lot of agents don't. And they want me to fill out everything. And it's like, I don't know your client's name and address. I don't know when they're moving in. Like, just because you don't know how to fill out a lease,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the information. So instead of trying to do it for them every time, I've now created an example. So, well, I'll send you an example and you can just fill in your information. And that has saved me from doing their work.
I personally prefer doing the lease contract, or the lease, the lease contract, because, I put it in my. But it takes forever for somebody else to do it.
Well, they copy everything I put in.
Yeah.
Everything I've auto-populated, they just use it.
Since we're talking about leases real quick, do you guys, how many of you do leases? Yeah. What do y'all do with your leases? Do you refer them out?
They just don't come up very well.
Okay. Let me go to them real quick. have this, rental tenant criteria that I put in, the MLS, and it really cuts down on a lot of those phone calls. You guys, if you don't have one of these, get one.
That's actually pulled off of
Yes,
the TREC,
Yes.
right?
and just,
Risk management.
yeah, just put it in, fill it out and put it into,
No, TAR.
put it into, the MLS, and it cuts down on so many questions. It really does. And then this is what the agent goes by, if they're filling out the lease, then they can just put this into the lease, but I really prefer filling out the lease myself. It's just a preference thing. So,
Karen, do y'all use something like that?
No, that's why I created my template,
Yeah.
because just, no.
yeah, you know, leases are one of those things that you do them, right? Because you want your clients happy, and hopefully they'll lead to a purchase and all that, but they are time consuming. So as much as you can cut down on the repetitive questions from agents and stuff like that, you do, so. Any other questions about Dotloop?
One thing I made a note of when you were talking about, splitting some documents to be able to put them over into the MLS. One of the things that Dotloop's help desk has pointed me towards that I've used, and it's really helped, is using smallpdf.com. So you can literally draw in and just drag and drop your PDF that's too large for the MLS into smallpdf.com. It shrinks it, gives you back the document, and then you can drop it into MLS and not have to worry about even splitting it. You're welcome. That, and the other one that Dotloop always recommends is called Bullzip, BULLZIP.com.